Welcome to the Bigger Room podcast. I'm your host, Jill Bender.
And I'm Mila Kobian, and today we're going to dive into the 6 toughest decisions that you're ever going to make.
Like do what shirt you put on in the morning?
Exactly, or how to do your hair.
Yeah.
Super important, super life-changing.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there anything that you can think of, Jill, that you used to overthink? And I'm talking about maybe just this year, that you used to overthink, but now you don't. I used to think that it might make or break your day.
No.
I
mean, getting up to go work out or not is a pretty big one.
I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Definitely a big one. For me, it has been, I could care less about clothes.
Yeah. I mean, when we don't leave the house.
We don't. We work from home. And so, I mean, before this, I was a personal trainer. So already my work clothes was workout clothes, right? And so now with working with home, it's just like, I don't care. And, I saw a video on TikTok and it was really funny about how people view Americans. And they were talking about how we wear like leggings. PJs, or we wear leggings, or we wear workout clothes like all day long. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, the pandemic really accelerated that for everybody. But
oh yeah,
I just think it's so funny. It's like the men were pretty brutal. They were saying the women don't take care of themselves. They're always in PJs. They don't brush their hair. It was kind of intense, but kind of funny. Yeah. So the first tough decision is, who do you listen to?
That's good, because so many people, first thing in the morning, they're on their phone. They're scrolling. If they get up a little early, they're scrolling.
And
or the news, the crappy news.
Oh yeah, I go for walks in the morning sometimes. I haven't as much lately, but I can kind of see people's TV sometimes, like when you're going for a walk and you can just see the news and what they're watching, and it's like, oh, come outside, it's so beautiful. Like, just release this energy, tap into the gratitude, and it's what adds value to your life, right? And so some people don't realize that because they're waking up having a reactive morning, that is not adding value. Instead, you're yelling at the TV, or somebody saying that something that you agree with. You're being programmed. You're watching a program, but it's what's programming you. So take control and realize that how you spend your time is something that you need to be asking yourself every single day. Is this adding value to my life? Yes or no?
Simple question. All right, what's number 2?
Number 2 can be a little difficult to process, but it's worth just taking inventory of your environment, where you live right now. Are you living in a place that aligns with your lifestyle, your values, your goals? And especially as this year is ending, right? You can't do much of where you live, like physically, but what about your environment, which is inside of your house? Is that aligned to your lifestyle or your values, right? And so we could take it back to other episodes where we talked about spring cleaning and how important it is to control your environment, or your environment will control you every single day. If you're failing or you're self-sabotaging, how are you living? How is your environment? Is it in alignment with the lifestyle that you want?
I have had a very hard dose of understanding this one, because if people don't know, I'm promoting products on TikTok Shop, and the amount of samples that I get daily, I don't have anywhere to put them. So I had a party on Friday, and literally like an hour before people were supposed to get here, I'm like telling my son, just push that bin into my bedroom and stick it by the closet. Like, I'm getting shut in. But once I had the party, my house was so clean and so organized, and there was so much space everywhere. I'm like, this is what I want it to look like every day. I was literally drowning in products. I'm like looking at my desk right now, which has very many products sitting on it again. It just like makes me crazy. Like, every day I come out here, I'm like, oh, crazy. It's like immediately makes me feel like anxious.
Because you see it, this is like, you see something and then like automatically, you have tasks to do, and it kind of offsets you. Yeah. And that's good reflection to have around it, right? Sometimes the job or the work has to be done, like you have to take the action. So how can you get to a place where you take the action from a place of, enjoyment and gratitude, like, oh yes, you get to do these videos, you get to have this stuff for free. Like how cool is that? And
It
sometimes
is
just
super
approaching it
cool,
from yeah,
I
sometimes just
and I
approaching it from
love
that
it.
place.
But
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
I just I just I have to get some sort of system to
Yeah.
where, like, if
Ask
these are done,
ChatGPT.
put them over here.
Like, ChatGPT, help me get organized. This is my situation.
Uh, yeah, this is my situation. There's nowhere to put anything. Where do I put it?
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. Oh, but it's real. I think that I mean you're a mom, and I think that a lot of parents can relate to that. Sometimes that I mean I have two dogs, and sometimes my wife and I clean the house, and right now we're doing a lot of showings of the house because we're getting ready to rent it out, and so we have to keep the house clean and
Mm,
spotless, and or like
nice.
almost like nobody lives here because
Yeah.
they're like, hey, we're gonna do an open house. Somebody wants to go see the house right now. It's like crap. Okay, yeah, and then the freaking dogs just make such a mess, and then you come down, and so they just literally get all their toys and put them everywhere, and it's and those are dogs, so I can't even imagine with kids.
Well, my child doesn't play with any toys. He just likes to own
Mm.
them. So they're there and they just take up all the space. And I'm like, you have an entire toy room and you have a whole shelf in my living room. Something has to give here. So he
Yeah.
was out of town for a few days with my mom, and I went through all the bins out here and I donated a giant box of toys. And
Mm.
now I just have to go through the toy room. But yeah, I feel like so much better.
Well, that pushes us to the next question is who are you spending time with? Are you spending time with people who support your dreams or are you compromising your happiness? And this can even sometimes be like for people who are married, that can be a, a tough question. Like some people shouldn't be married. And because as a person you are with every single day and sometimes that's where you're not getting the support. And sometimes this is just the friends that you're hanging out with. Are you compromising your happiness? Are you compromising your goals because your friends that you hang out with don't support them or they criticize you? Um, it's sad to
I
see
knew
sometimes, even just out and about. I see friends hanging out in groups and people just sharing about their day. You can hear the little side comments that their friends make, and it's like, oof, that's jealousy, or oof, that's actually envy. And it's like, you could just see the person kind of like compromise their happiness by like kind of withdrawing or not showing their excitement anymore. Um, it's tough.
I I knew this was going to be on the list
You knew,
because
you
it's
knew it.
you surround yourself as 5 million at 4 millionaires, you're going to be the fifth one or however they say
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I recently was thinking about that because I was like, if I ever wanted to get married, I need to hang out with married people. Odds are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Mm.
And it goes to say my brother found a group of friends in the last 10 years that he travels with them, he gets to do everything with them, he loves them, like they're all
Mm-hmm.
BFFs. But he's always wanted to have a family. He's always wanted kids. He always imagined he was going to be married. He's going to have, 3 or 4 kids. That was going to be his life. And it wasn't happening. And now he's with this group of friends, and not one of them wants to have kids. And they're all
Yeah.
now in their 40s. And I was like, who
Mm-hmm.
you surround yourself with, you are not going to have kids when you're hanging out with
Yeah.
people that don't want kids.
Yeah. It's why like friends group change. You just evolve with the people that you're gonna evolve with. But I think the key is happiness, right? It's absolute happiness. You have to be hang out with people that are absolutely happy. And maybe you realize like, oh, maybe I don't want to get married or maybe I don't want to have kids, whatever that may look like, because that means that you get to chase your dreams. Like it's sucks, but sometimes I guess like for a lot of people, they sacrifice their dreams because they're married, or they sacrifice their dreams because they don't think that they can achieve them because they don't have that support. And I've met a lot of people who are married and they say, and I say this too, like, if it didn't work out, like I would never marry again. Dunzo. Because yeah, you have to be your priority, regardless if you're married or not. This is a really good question coming up next here is what do you do with your money? Are you spending it in line with your priorities? Do you save? Do you invest? Are you building wealth? What do you do with your money? That is a question that should definitely be inventoried.
Are you buying crap off a TikTok shop every morning? So did you
Exactly.
get paid?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The average person does not have an emergency fund for $1,000. Most emergencies are not $1,000 unless it's like something small that happened to your car or at home. But most emergencies are at least 3 to 5 times that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's a
What do you
good one.
think? Yeah. Do you think that? Why do you think people, Joe, will go buy the brand new iPhone right now today and get in debt, but won't put the $1,000 in savings instead?
Lack of education, not education from a school, lack of education on what they should be doing with their money. We aren't
Hmm.
really taught that stuff growing up unless you
Hmm.
have parents that, were really good with it. But yeah, it just stems from how they were raised and how their parents were raised. And they don't really know anything different. And even if they're taught something different, that's like a new habit that you have to practice daily and you have to want
Right.
to change.
Yeah. Right. And that kind of ties in with this last one is what do you value? Because some people value looking rich. Some people value
Mm-hmm.
having that expensive phone, having that designer bag or whatever, but it's not, it's just a front. But that because those are their values. But giving value to the materialistic side of things. But what are the non negotiables in your life? Is a question you should ask yourself. And are you taking actions that are aligned with those core values? So if you're saying, "Oh yeah, I don't care about like, you know, looking rich," but then you're getting yourself in debt by buying, that $3,000 purse, that $1,500 phone, the designer clothes that you can't afford, is that in
The
alignment with?
convertible Corvette.
Yes, exactly. So it's okay to want those things. Like, don't get me like you should absolutely want those things because you can have them if you want to, right? You are the
Mhm.
creator of your life. But if you're sacrificing your values to get the thing, then you're giving more value to the thing that's outside of you. So these are, oh no, we have one. Do you think that social media plays a role in people giving value to things outside of themselves?
Absolutely. I mean, we could go back to the early days of um, just the people being influenced. I say early days, but that's what I think I heard about the most. People having a hard time by seeing all their friends on
Mm,
Facebook, usually is what it was in the beginning, or even Instagram, and they're out doing something cool. And now it was making people depressed that they're not doing the cool things.
mm,
So yeah, there's stuff that's popping up that you're like, oh my God, they're doing this cool thing. I didn't even know I wanted to do it, but now I gotta do it because so and so is doing
yeah,
it. Or yeah, 100%. I think social media is influencing everything in life,
yeah,
everywhere.
100%. Yeah, yeah. Gosh, definitely is. And that leads us to our last question. Regardless of the influence out there with social media, what will you dedicate your life to?
Every day
So,
you wake up, make that decision.
yep. What will you dedicate your life to, even if it's just for that day?
Sitting on the couch eating potato chips.
There you go. Couch potato for the day.
Oh my God, I would die if I did that for like a day. That was
Yeah.
my day. I would
Yeah.
not be happy. I get mad if I'm like sitting around not being productive for a certain amount of time. I'm like, Like I beat myself up over that one. It makes me angry.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what helps me is there's a you have to have happiness now and not think about the long, like also think about long-term happiness. And so if every day, I mean, you guys know me with my little sticky notes, like there's like missions every single day. And sometimes, sacrificing the satisfaction of just being a couch potato and, doing the things that normally I think people do that when they like work a 9 to 5, they're unhappy with their job and they want to disconnect by plugging in to social media or Netflix or whatever. When they can,
mindless scrolling.
yeah, mindless scrolling because it's like, oh, I need to escape this reality and go into this other world and get mad at this and laugh at this. And so that becomes like the drug, right? But that's not going to lead to long-term happiness. So it's like the question is like, what are you going to dedicate your life to that's going to lead to that long-term happiness? And so that's where, like, what are you passionate about? Because let's be real, I don't know if you guys saw the Elon's robots that came out. I forgot what they were called, but it's looking very probable, whether we like it or not, that robots are going to replace a lot of jobs, especially mundane jobs like cashier jobs that don't really require a lot of, brain power will be replaced. So
education.
a lot of education.
Yeah,
I mean, we learn YouTube. People learn more on YouTube than they do in a class.
I was talking to one of my friends that is a radiologist, and she was talking about AI, and she's like, "There's already AI that's doing a bunch of things that my role would have normally done." She's like, "It's pretty terrifying."
Yeah, exactly. So technology is always gonna be there to replace us. AI is always going to be there to replace us. So if money wasn't an issue and you had everything you've always wanted, what are you passionate about and what are you going to dedicate your life to? And so if you serve that passion and make it a mission every day to play a role in your long-term happiness, that can change your life.
So these are the 6 toughest questions that you really should be asking yourself every day when you wake up. Give yourself a couple minutes to make the good decisions that you know are going to benefit you in the long run. A couple minutes isn't that long.
No.
But it could change your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It will shape your life for sure. That's all we have for you today on the Figure Room podcast. We thank you so much for tuning in with us and joining us. We'll see you next week.